Guys, we're going to get started. I appreciate you coming on today. Today's webinar is more of a philosophy webinar than a nuts and bolts training webinar. But I've been getting a lot of questions lately from agents, really trying to struggle with their style, with their strategy on social media. And I felt that maybe I should do a webinar that kind of refocused you in the right way so you can move forward and really be successful with it. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to start off and talk a little bit about personal feelings, controlling those feelings and keeping them in check. I like to call it the importance of thinking like an entrepreneur. Then we're going to talk about social media and really how it's about talking to people. We're going to talk about really the two keys to success, getting people to talk to, and obviously how do we talk to those people. So that's going to be the overview of the webinar. I'm hopeful that, again, I'll give you some good strategy, some good thoughts, and we'll kind of go from there. So, guys, the reality is in 2013, 75% of all independent insurance agencies are using social media. The one line I always like to tell people is you're entitled to nothing. All you're entitled to is maybe wasting a lot of time. On the flip side, you're not going to make it if you give up on social media. Because, again, as I've mentioned a million times, all it is talking to people. And we'll go into that depth in a few minutes. But if you're going to be successful, it's based on three simple things: consistency, creativity, and convincing people that your agency is better than the guy down the street. And what I find is that social media, unfortunately, shows agencies' weaknesses very quickly. And again, what I mean by that is I talk to a lot of agencies every day, and unfortunately, probably 7 out of 10 of those agencies don't have what I call a brand. They really do not project themselves to the consumer as unique. They rely completely on selling the product. And, that's great. Products are great. But at the end of the day, let's face it, we don't create those products. Someone else is creating those products, and we're selling it for them. So what that means is the product can go away, the product price can change, and at that point we have to scramble. So I guess my point is this. My point is I think the top agencies out there, they understand that. And any good entrepreneur knows that you want to focus on things that you can control. And I guess my point with the products is when all you do is market the products, you roll the dice because you don't control them. But the one thing that you do control is you control your brand, your agency, why you're different, how you can help people. And I think there's a lot of great agents out there, a lot of great agencies out there that offer some really good personal service, hands-on service. They truly want to help their clients. At the end of the day, we have to figure out how to take that personal vibe, that personal feeling, and make it virtual. And that's what the top agency does with social media. They're able to still offer that great personal service, but they've learned how to market that feeling, that brand, virtually. And that's where we all have to get to if we want to survive the next 10 years. So that's why I always get nervous when people say, don't worry about our logo, don't worry about our agency name or anything like that. We just want to sell products. That's a dangerous way to go because at the end of the day, you're just a slave to that product. So with social media, guys, it's a marathon. The one thing I always try to tell people who just start to get going, and that means, the first year and a half, you're not going to make like random online sales where people randomly buy it from you. That's not what social media is about. It's about having the ability to play the numbers, to play the stats. It's about influencing people. I think back to my grandfather who was in this business since the 50s. And, he went through all sorts of different types of insurance. He was in the association business for a while. Long story short, I remember him telling me insurance is a numbers game. It's as simple as, writing 20 people that you know on a piece of paper, calling those people and asking for 5 more names, and then calling those people and asking for 5 more names. And, it's just about how many people can we touch, and if we can touch enough people, we're going to find people that become buyers, that are in what's called the buying mindset. And as I always try to explain, and I think you guys can all agree, no matter what products you sell, really none of them are impulsive purchases. No one's going to say, oh, they're not just walking down the aisle of the grocery store and they look at that Snickers and they buy it because they just, oh, I need the chocolate. No one says, oh, yeah, I need that life insurance. It doesn't happen like that. Today, they could care less about insurance. But tomorrow, something happens to them. They find out they're going to have a child. They're going to buy a new house. They're going to get a new car. Next thing you know, they go from not caring to saying, uh-oh, need to get protection now. No choice. Got to do it. And I guess my point is it comes back to those numbers. Can we get our logo? Can we get that brand, that personal feeling, that personal vibe? Can we get that in front of enough people? And that's where I want to kind of take it for the next few minutes here and just try to explain that that is what social media has become. It's become that place where people go and, pardon my French, but, where people go and they kind of complain. It's a venting center, per se. And, amongst other chitter-chatter, et cetera. So, one of the most common things I get from people is look, I just don't like social media because I just can't stand going on there and seeing other people talk about stuff that frustrates me. That seems to be the main gripe, and that seems to be the reason a lot of people stay away from it. On the flip side, I don't look at it that way. I used to look at it that way. As most of you guys know, I personally don't like Facebook. It really does kind of creep me out in a lot of ways. I personally find LinkedIn to be very tedious, very boring. But on the flip side, this statement here it really summarizes everything. I can't stand how other people use social media to talk about things I don't care about. Okay, but the key thing in there is talk about, right? People are going on and they're talking. Some things you're going to like, some things you're going to agree on, some things are going to drive you insane. But as an entrepreneur, it's all irrelevant, completely, utterly irrelevant. The only thing that's relevant is you have now a huge mass of people that are reading and interacting. And as a salesman, it is your job to talk to as many people as possible, to play the numbers, right? And regardless of what these people are talking about and what they're doing, the smart guys, the top agencies, they get it. And they are going to actually take advantage of the fact that people are so zealot-like towards this stuff. And, that to me is the turning point for an agency. Once they start to realize that and go, wait a minute, you're saying that I want to take advantage of the people that are really just kind of crazy and they're on Facebook 8 hours a day talking. You mean I don't have to talk with them about that stuff? And that, again, I'm rambling on here, but I guess my point is that's where you hit the turning point. Once you start to understand, it has really nothing to do about talking to these people about what they want to talk about. It's about talking about the things you want to talk about and planting the seeds in their head that you're a specialist in the products you offer. And let's face it, guys, I mean, I always like to say, what is the realistic scenario that that's going to occur? Let's say you sell term insurance. What's a scenario there? Well, I mean, I can give you a scenario. About 4 years ago, about 3 years ago, randomly found out, not randomly, but you found out wife's pregnant, okay? Nothing happens. I'm not thinking about anything. About 2 weeks later, I end up at it was a engagement party for my sister-in-law. Next thing you know, I'm in the, getting a soda, and my mother-in-law kind of comes up and says, look, you're going to have a kid. You going to get insurance in case something happens to you? And I guess my point is that's a legitimate scenario. Young guy, not really concerned about life, everything's great. Next thing you know, he's going to have a kid. Man, that mother-in-law knows you better get insurance in case he falls over dead, and I got to take care of the kid. So my point is that was me, but a lot of people, they go from not caring about insurance to all of a sudden wanting insurance. Where do they go? 29 years old, 25 years old, 35 years old, whatever. They're going on to Facebook, and they're going to use their sphere of influence on there, all their college buddies, all their high school buddies, all the people they've worked with. They're all friends with them on Facebook. Boom, hey, guys, you know what? I'm about to have a kid. I think I need to get some life insurance. Who can help me? So boom, that post goes out to every one of that guy's friends. Hopefully one of those friends is a fan of your page. And hopefully you've been posting 5 days a week telling people that you specialize in life insurance or whatever, and boom, there's your referral. There's your phone call. That's how it works. The same as it always used to work, guys, except back in the day, the sphere of influence that people could talk to was smaller. Maybe they just went and talked to mom and dad. You know, maybe they called somebody. Maybe they went into the yellow pages. Those days are over. Now they're going onto social media and they're gossiping. They're talking. And I guess my whole point is that's the way I see things. It's about kind of sitting down after today's webinar and saying, okay, what products do I really sell? What do I focus on? And, you know, how do those people who buy the products from me, how did they become buyers? What triggers them? What are the trigger pressure points? And what are the scenarios that make them buyers? And then how do I get out in front of the people that are kind of gossiping about it on social media? So real quick, let me kind of show you an example of an agency that's really taken it to a pretty high level. These guys are out in California. They're not that big of an agency. They have about four employees, 5 employees. You'll see that they have 17,000 people that have come to their page and clicked this like button. Okay, so that means every time that they post something, it's going out to 17,000 people, okay? And again, that's just the beginning. The next thing is how many people does it go to if they interact. So you'll see they had a post the other day. You know, does the high cost of insurance, have you seen spots? You know, and they have call, post insurance. Here's the web address. They had 11 people share this post. 126 people like it. So what does that mean in layman's terms? Well, what that means is the post went out to 17,000. Then it went out to all of these 126 people's friends. So if I kind of go in here and click on this Joanne Moore, she's got 31 friends. So it went out to an extra 31. And if I go through every person who interacted, it went out to their friends. So this post may have gone out to 40,000 people for all I know. I mean, I have to sit there and count. And, you know, that's the ultimate numbers game is my point, guys. It's about the numbers. So first kind of question I always get from people, Ken, I'm struggling on social media. Well, what type of numbers do you have? Have you gone out to your client base and have you told them to connect with you? Have you gotten them to your Facebook page or Twitter page or LinkedIn page, and have they connected? You know, that's the first deal. It's, you know, and I guess the common mistake I see a lot of people make is they post. All they do is post, but they don't spend any time growing their distribution. And the best way to think about it is it's just like email, okay? Back in 2000 when email marketing was so big and you really got tons of results, the guys that were successful, they weren't sending their emails out to 50 people. They were sending it out to 5,000 people. Well, social media is the same thing. You want to get as many email addresses as you can, but it's not email addresses anymore. It's fans, it's connections, it's followers. That becomes your distribution. So if you're struggling, really first phase is to think about how do I get more people to connect with me. And it's not easy. And the fact is you really need to have, I think it starts with having a great brand and really, you know, having that logo, having that agency or you know, personal service that people like, and then reaching out to those people, getting them to connect, and then having some good posting each day that is obviously making them interact. It's making your posts go viral and it's getting you the numbers. So guys, I've kind of rambled on here today, but again, I tried to keep today's webinar a little bit more focused on the things you need to do to compete with the competition. The first thing, like I said, just to review, you have to think like an entrepreneur. I don't care if you hate Twitter, if you hate Facebook, you hate LinkedIn, you're absolutely crazy for ignoring it. It's where about 65 to 75% of Americans are going daily. It's where they're going to talk. It's a huge carnival of people. You're a salesman. Your job is to get in that crowd of people. Then once you're in there, your job is to project yourself not as a slimy insurance salesman, but as a specialist, as an expert in what you do, right? And that's where the posting comes in. That's why you don't want to solicit people. You want to let people know that you're a specialist, that you're here to help them. Generate referrals. We don't want to generate guys looking for the cheapest price. We want guys who are looking for someone who can advise them to the right solution. That's how we build good agencies. So that's kind of the overview today. Next week, we're going to actually talk about Twitter. Should be a pretty good webinar.